Have you ever noticed that Democrats in Washington, and I have a point, so follow me here, Democrats in Washington rarely seem to make the same mistake that Republicans seem to make all the time. And no one ever mentions it like it's just totally normal. George Santos, an epic liar, one of the all-time liars. He told the world that he played D1 volleyball in college. He didn't. He didn't go to college. And in 10 days from now, he's going to start a 7-year prison sentence. A first-time offender, by the way, after being convicted on charges from the Biden Justice Department that were shaky at best. Trust me. But before George was convicted, he was kicked out of Congress. Yes, by Democrats, but also by over 100 Republicans, meaning over 100 Republicans voted to kick out one of their own, expel them from Congress. And that's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats just don't do that kind of stuff. No matter what their people do, they would never expel one of their own from Congress. Jamal Bowman can break a federal law and pull the fire alarm at the U.S. Capitol building to delay a vote on camera, and nothing happens. LaMonica MacGyver can literally assault an ICE agent on camera, and nothing happens. She's still serving in Congress. In 1974, Richard Nixon resigned the presidency. In the middle of Watergate, he buckled to the pressure. But just 4 years before that, Ted Kennedy drove off a bridge drunk on Martha's Vineyard, killing a young woman, and went on to serve another 40 years in the Senate. To anyone willing to pay attention, this distinction has been clear for a very long time. Democrats can do whatever they want, and Republicans just can't. Which brings us back to Jeffrey Epstein. There have been calls for Pam Bondi to resign, and there have been rumors that Dan Bongino, the director of the FBI, might resign if the truth about the people who raped what could be hundreds, maybe thousands, of very young girls, not women, girls, very rich, powerful, famous people, isn't made public, which is what this has always been about, something Donald Trump addressed the other day.
I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times, and he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape.
Michael Knowles is going to be with us in just a moment. He spoke at the Turning Point event this weekend down in Tampa, where multiple speakers seemingly called on Pam Bondi to resign, which is what Republicans always seem to do, isn't it? When the going gets tough, Republicans want other Republicans to resign or step down or go away. But why should she? Seriously, Democrats never resign. They never go anywhere. No one in Joe Biden's entire administration ever resigned. It didn't matter what happened. Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, all 4 years, war in Gaza, war in Ukraine. He didn't care. He didn't go anywhere. Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary for 4 years. Even after the debacle that was the Afghanistan withdrawal, Lloyd didn't go anywhere. Neither did Mark Milley. Alejandro Mayorkas, architect of the most criminal southern border in the history of the country, at least 15 million illegal aliens crossing the border in 4 years. And Ali didn't care. No shame, no remorse, the Democrat way. Same thing with Merrick Garland, Attorney General for 4 years, broke norms. Democrats love norms. He became the first U.S. Attorney General to charge not only a former president, but also his boss's primary competition for the presidency in 2024. The raid on Mar-a-Lago, 91 felony charges, 4 indictments, a mugshot, and a very public trial the summer before the election. Last summer, no one resigned and no one was fired. Which brings us back to Pam Bondi. She does not need to resign. Not today, not yet, but that could change. Pam Bondi overpromised and underdelivered, yes. She has not gotten 1 second of this whole thing right. But if she holds a press conference, if she answers real questions and does real interviews in uncomfortable places, like perhaps this show, Finnerty on Newsmax, if she announces in an honest way that the investigation is not over and that she's going to get to the truth, not for me, not for you, but for the victims, maybe she survives this. Maybe. The other part of this story, which is just sort of disgusting. Again, we're talking about little girls being molested and raped by very wealthy, very powerful, very grown men. But suddenly the left are interested in the Epstein story, not because they care about the victims, but because they care about hurting Donald Trump.
Do you think there's an Epstein list?
I mean, now I'm going to start sounding conspiratorial. After Elon tweeted that out and all of a sudden now it disappears? Really, Trump? Show us. What do you got? Where's the transparency? What carnies? What flim-flammers? What music men? What artists? These guys are.
Not even good ones either.
Not even good ones.
Epstein died by suicide. Believe that and you must be blind. You've been telling us you released the file, but where are they? We've gone along with what's been told. We've had plenty of time, you're in control. But now you say you will withhold the Epstein file.
Okay, so just look at this Gavin Newsom scene for a moment. Couple of beers, guy with a trucker hat, California, trying to figure out how he can appeal to men in 2028. Just another example of how fake Gavin Newsom really is. What a phony. Here's what he said. What carnies, what flim-flammers, what music men, what BS artists. I'm with you with the BS artists, but those are 10 words that have never been spoken together in the same sentence. That's historic. We know what a BS artist is. We're not sure what a music man is. I was in the play when I was little, unless he's referring to Harold Hill, who plays clarinet with the kids from the town. That play came out in the early 1960s. You really ought to give Iowa a try. Dubuque, Des Moines, Davenport, Marshalltown, Mason City, Ames, clearly. You really ought to give Iowa a try. Gavin Newsom. But I don't think that's what he was referencing. Maybe. Okay. As it stands right now, we are exactly where we were 1 week ago when the Department of Justice leaked that the Epstein case was suddenly closed in the middle of the night to a Democrat website called Axios on the 4th of July. There are still just two explanations for what's going on. Either the people that Donald Trump appointed to get to the truth are actively covering up a child sex ring and they know they're doing it, and in the process of doing that, they are protecting very powerful, very wealthy people, or Pam Bondi very simply and very plainly overpromised and then under-delivered, and there is nothing there. I don't think that's the answer. Either way, she needs to fix this, or those calls to resign are going to start coming from other places, like us.